Hello, everyone, and thank you for attending our session. My name is Dan Pasowisty, and also with us today are my colleagues Ryan Buxton and Steve Webb. We have some exciting content to share with you in today's session. However, before we do, we're going to take a few minutes to provide a quick overview of what exactly is a web portal, why they're so important, as well as outline different verticals and use cases where our solution excels in helping organizations improve their business performance. But first, a little bit about who we are. The Portal Connector is a division of Pasowisty.com and part of the Sylogist family of products. We have over 20 years implementing dynamic CRM and web portal solutions, and we're also a Microsoft Gold partner for CRM and a Sitefinity Platinum partner. Next, I want to provide a quick overview about what a web portal is, as well as why they are so important. A web portal effectively is a website. However, the main difference is a website's public-facing, whereas a web portal is private and typically resides behind a security wall, meaning that a user would have to be registered, authenticated, and logged in order to access it. Additionally, a website typically serves one specific purpose, whereas a web portal can serve multiple functions to facilitate consumer-to-business interaction. And really, whether we're cognizant of it or not, we interact with portals all the time. To provide a few examples here, anytime you view an electricity, cell phone, or cable bill or consumption levels online, or if you were to submit an insurance claim for reimbursement, it would have been done through a web portal. And more generally speaking, anytime you use an email address or username and password to log into a website and view a personal dashboard, access resources, or purchase products or services, you're interacting with a web portal. I also want to talk a little bit about why they're so important. And this really comes down to a rapid increase in the digital presence of both consumers and organizations. As online interaction, and particularly as the use of mobile devices has increased, consumers are gravitating more and more to digital online interactions with organizations. And for any organization that intends to remain competitive as an industry leader, it is crucial that they invest in technology that will facilitate and maximize online consumer interaction with their organization. And as you can see from these stats, this has become a basic level of expectation for most consumers. Above anything, the Portal Connector represents a best-in-class solution to expand and streamline an organization's digital presence to allow for accelerated growth. It does this by transforming business processes that expedite customer acquisition and retention. So to be clear, investing in this technology is a tremendous growth opportunity for almost any organization. I do want to touch on the business case and ideal business impact of the Portal Connector. So to do that, I want you to think about the concept of a 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0 portal release. A 1.0 portal release represents the pioneer of digital transition for web portals and effectively is a transition from manual processes to digital processes. The 2.0 portal release is the next step in the architecture. You're certainly able to build highly functional, albeit relatively basic portals, and you are able to integrate with other types of technology and business processes. However, this still falls well short of that 3.0 portal release, which represents an emphasis on digital transformation where complex requirements come into play. And this is where we position the Portal Connector. Every decision, both in developing and aligning the technology to meet our clients' business objectives, has been made from the perspective of how can we help them gain and retain as many new customers as possible. The main reason for this is because the Portal Connector is an enterprise-class content management system. This means you're able to build beautiful web portals that can leverage UI, branding, and corporate trade dress, along with all the rich media that comes with a content management system to provide a highly stable and engaging user experience. So it's going to look great. But more importantly, you have complete flexibility to adjust how the portal will feel and flow for anyone that's interacting with it. And that really is the key here. The user experience must be intuitive and enjoyable to ensure that users continually come back and use the portal. And from a business perspective, that's where 100% of top line revenue and ROI from a profitability standpoint comes from. To add a little bit more to that, Dynamics is a fantastic application for managing and storing business data, but it's not an enterprise class content management system. As such, we have complete flexibility to be both granular and thoughtful in our approach when determining what user interface we're going to create and design to provide an engaging user experience for anyone accessing the portal. What technology is it going to communicate with, and what business logic and workflows will be utilized to achieve the desired output, both from a customer experience, but as well a business impact perspective.
Thanks, Dan. So what I'd like to talk to you about today is some of the verticals, the use cases, business transformation, and then I'm going to queue up our demo, which I'm sure you're looking forward to. So some of the verticals we typically see are government, public sector, education, even not-for-profits. We often get asked, what are your best verticals? What can the Portal Connector work with? And the truth really is any vertical that we've come across, we've been able to help them out with their business transformation, their business needs, and come up with a great portal solution for that particular company. Some of the use cases that we'd like to talk to you about today, some of them you might already be aware of, such as a customer support portal, case management, profile management, but some of the other ones you might not think about, maybe an education style portal where you've got students going in and managing some of their classes or managing some of their payments. You've got an e-commerce portal where maybe it's a membership which they need to purchase a yearly membership, so they're able to log into the portal, check out, and process a payment for that e-commerce. On the business transformation side of things, we take a typical example of a customer that's come to us with a case management idea. So they want to help with managing their support cases online. So what we've done for them, we've set up a case management portal where you're able to log in, you're able to submit a case, you're able to update a case, maybe even upload some documentation that's relevant to that case. Also, you're able to search knowledge base articles, maybe find support via the knowledge base article, and now the actual support case doesn't need to actually go to the organization, but there's still visibility into that support case. Now, where the business transformation side comes from is maybe marketing has contacted somebody within our organization to say, what about events? We host a lot of events, whether they be in-person conferences or even online webinars. So why not have an event management style portal implemented to your existing license? So we can manage registrations, we can manage the sessions that they might sign up for, as well as add-ons, such as adding meal choices, such as adding swag. Maybe they get a free t-shirt so they're able to select their size, something along those lines. So that's all part of the business transformation that we've been able to help an organization with that only really thought about case management in the beginning. What you're going to see coming up that Steve's built out for us is a demo. It's a fantastic demo of a typical, maybe a local government style portal where you've got municipal e-services. You're going to be able to see registration, a permit application, an element of e-commerce where you're able to pay for that particular permit that you've purchased. So it's a payment process that we're going to be able to go through. But not only are we going to show you the front end of a typical portal that we've built out, but also the administration area. So where the development is done, where configuration is done, you're going to see elements of drag and drop. You're also going to be able to see form flow, which is a fantastic process that we've built out to navigate complex scenarios where it's an application or an online form where they've got different paths that they're going to go down based on what they've selected and chosen. I want everybody to keep in mind that we are available during the demo for Q&A. So if there's any questions you want to add, pop them into the chat. We'll be able to help you out, as well as during the live Q&A at the end of the session. Thank you, and I hope you look forward to the demo, and we'll look forward to meeting with you at the conference.
Thanks, guys. Hope everyone's doing well today. Thanks for joining us. What we have here is a demo of a e-services type portal that you could build out with the Portal Connector. So it is a use case that we see quite frequently where local government organizations, they want to be able to provide an area for people to pay parking tickets, maybe register your cat or your dog, apply for fire permits, so on and so on. So what we've done is we just built out a very basic process that we're going to walk through, and then what we're going to do is take you into the administrative side and show you how some of that is actually built out. So the first part I'm going to show you is registering a cat or a dog, and this is a very straightforward process. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm actually going to create a new user. I'm going to register, and let's call this person Wayne Hicks. So W Hicks at a secure password. And of course, right now we're registering as just a regular user with a password and username. This could be integrated with Azure B2C. We could have a LinkedIn provider, a Twitter provider, any of those social accounts. But for simplicity's sake, I just have my regular email address and password registration. So once I register, it's going to take me right into that process for the pet registration side of things. And you can see that we have a little bit of a navigation bar across the top. We have the start, which is where we are now, the owner information, pet information, and of course, we want to make sure that we collect that payment for that pet registration. So I'm going to go ahead and click start here. It's going to pre-populate with the information that it has in the system for us so far. So right now it just has our first name, last name, and the email address. So I'll give it my phone number here. There we go. My street. And we're going to continue on into our pet information. So once we hit our pet information, you can see that we have all of our address information and summarized up above. We're going to give this one here, let's go with Shep. And my pet is let's go with a llama. And you can see here that's actually doing some work here. We're going to go with an African barking llama. And then we can make it a male neutered. Definitely has rabies shot, and it is a 12-year-old llama. And we'll go with, let's go with a red. So we'll go with a red African barking llama. No markings, and a vet clinic. We'll call it the Letterkenny, a vet clinic. Continue on. Now that we've continued on, we're at our summary, confirm and pay information. You can see that, you know, we captured all the important information that the township's going to need, but we also have the payment side of things. So we're going to go ahead and pop in our payment information. Our test account card number. Let's get in expiry. And then we're just going to go ahead and confirm that payment. So there we go, payment successful. It's all written back to Dynamics. Click on my finished, and we're back here to our e-services side of things. So now say for instance, you know what, maybe I want to get a fire permit as well. I'm already logged in here as Wayne. So you can see Wayne up there, he's already logged in. So I'm just gonna click on start, and instead of taking us to that login page or registration page, it takes us right into the fire permit application page. So now we're looking at this here, and of course we do have a different path here because there's a little bit more information required for the fire permit application. But I'm just going to quickly go through here and click on start. Now that we know that that Wayne's already logged in and already entered in all of his information, so you can see that automatically populated all that previous information. That's coming directly from your Dynamics instance as well, or it could very well be a Dataverse instance if you wanted to just go, you know, straight up Dataverse with it. So I'm going to continue on because I don't need any changes there. We're going to get into the permit details now. So it's asking me, okay, you know what? Is it the same address as the applicant for this fire permit? I'm going to go ahead and just say, yeah, it is. So now we've grayed out and disabled all those fields so they don't have to enter in that. Do you own the premises you're requesting a permit for? So am I the registered owner? I'm just going to go ahead and say no. So what that's going to do, it's going to drive me down a different path. Okay, so if I click on yes, we would go straight to the terms and conditions. But because I clicked on terms and conditions here, because I clicked on no, what's going to happen is it's going to ask me for that owner information. So here we are, the owner information. You can see that my path actually changed up here in my navigation. So it's asking me for the owner information before I get to the terms and conditions. So I'm going to put in my owner here. Steve Webb, and my phone number. Okay, I want to upload my signed agreement that I got from my landlord saying, yeah, you know what, they're allowed to have a fire, no problem at all. I'm actually just going to take this Business Central image. It could be any of these types of documents, and of course this is configurable as well. So if you wanted to take a text file, or text is actually in there, but Yeah, so you can configure the different types of files that they're allowed to upload. So I'm going to continue on here, and now we're going to jump into those terms and conditions. All right, so first off, we want to decide on what type of permit. Is it a seasonal permit or is it a brush burn permit? So let's take that brush burn permit, and now it's asking me for a date, because typically one of these brush burn permits is for a single day, just letting the fire department know that, hey, you know what, you're going to have a kick butt bonfire burning a ton of leaves and trees and stuff. So let's push this thing out into, and you can see here that we're going to have it on Super Bowl weekend. Do you abide by the guidelines? Yeah, absolutely. So I can open up the bylaw page there and see what that bylaw is. Continue on, and we're back into that confirm and pay scenario where we can pay for that permit. And of course, we have all the details of that permit as well. So what I'm going to do now is actually jump into the back end and show you how we configured some of this. And I'm actually going to take you through the fire permit. Okay, so here we are. This is the administrative area for the portal connector. And what we're looking at is it is an enterprise level content management system. So across the top, we have pages, content, some portal connector elements, some design elements, administration, and so on and so on. What we're going to focus on is really just that process for the fire permit, and there's a few elements to that. So my first thing I'm going to do is jump into my form side of things, because we did collect a fair bit of information there, and you can see that I created a series of forms. Here we have step 5, step 3, step 2. We got the pet registration stuff here, step 4. But maybe one of the ones I'd like to show you is maybe step 2 here. So step 2 is basically the step where it asked me if I was the owner, I believe. It also asked me if for the additional address information. So this is the structure of it, and this is basically how you would build out a form with the portal connector. It's all drag and drop, and you can see here that we're actually looking at an entity called fire permit, and also another entity called citizen service, which identifies the cost of that. It's actually embedded inside of this other form. But then we have all of these fields. So if I wanted to, I could drag additional fields on here. And if I did, let's just say I take one of these text fields, drag it on, click on edit. It knows that I'm working with that fire permit entity. So it also knows all the text related fields that I have for that fire permit entity. So I can go ahead and select one of those and configure that field. So it's pretty straightforward. Configuration. I can change the appearance of the text field, so on and so on. And of course, I have one of those fields that corresponds with every different type of data that you would have inside of Dataverse or Dynamics. I also have some more advanced information as well, like SharePoint grids and subgrids and workflows and QR codes and barcodes and rules managers. So rules manager is an interesting one. So let me just go out here. So if you recall, back in that demonstration there, I had that same address as applicant. When I clicked the checkbox here, it actually made these fields not required, and it also disabled these fields so someone couldn't enter in that information. So to do that, what I used was a rules manager. So if I open up that rules manager, and this is just one area where you can actually build logic into any of your forms. So I'm actually updating the cost of my application, but I also have this JavaScript here that I'm executing. So if I edit this, what it basically says is that, hey, you know what? When that checkbox changes to yes, I want to run a script, and this is the script. So what I'm doing is I'm clearing out the values, I'm disabling the fields, and making it false as required. So the portal connector does have a very elaborate JavaScript API as well as C# API that you can interact with. In this particular case, I elected to run a script. What I could have done instead of running a script is build out a series of rules for each of those different fields. So instead of actually clicking on run script here, what I could have done is say, hey, you know what? Let's disable this field and make it optional instead of required. But then I'd have to go through there and do it for each of those fields that I had. I think I had like 3 or 4 different fields. So the easiest thing to do was for me just to create a quick script to enable and disable those fields and clear the contents of it pretty easily. But I wanted to show you that with this rules manager, you do have the ability to track anytime it changes, when it contains a different value, and also all these different options that you have: setting values, copying values, showing fields, hiding fields, so on and so on, showing and hiding whole sections as well. And of course, you do have the ability to run a script if you want to run some custom JavaScript. So let me close out there. And then that is a quick summary of one of the forms. So let me go back here to my form section. And as you notice inside that process for the fire permit, there was quite a few screens. There are 4 or 5 different screens, and that's why we have those 4 or 5 different forms, because those are each of the different steps. You can have as many fields on those steps as you want. What I tried to do is break it down into logical sections where you're collecting owner information, for instance, permit information, making sure that you agreed to the terms and conditions of the fire permit, so on and so on. Now, once we have all these forms put together, and we have, okay, yeah, this is what we're going to do. We have a plan going forward. Then what you can do is actually start building it out in the page. So I'm going to go into my pages section. You can see here that we have our home page, which is services, our parking tickets, our pet registration, fire permit, so on and so on. And then we have another invoice section that we're not going to get into. But I'm going to jump into the editing of this fire permit page. And you can see it's very similar to the form editor. We have what we call widgets down the side, and then our designer in the middle here. And if I wanted to, and something I didn't show you on the form editor, but if I wanted to have multiple columns here, I could just flip over here to my layout side, and I can actually drag in multiple columns. So if I wanted, to reposition this or restructure this into 2 different columns like that, I can do that, and I can just take this here and drag it up there, and off we go. This element here that we're looking at is something that we call form flow. And what that does is it is a widget right over here that allows you to build a process, out of forms and pages and emails and so on and so on. So if I click on edit here, I'll show you what that looks like. First off, you notice that we had those navigation elements on our site. So you can enable the navigation or hide the navigation. I can have it so it's horizontal or a listing down the side as well by changing that to a vertical listing. And I can also control how it flows from one page to the next. Now, to create this process or this workflow, I'd simply just click on define flow, and that's going to open up what we have already here. So I do have this a little bit messed up here. There we go. So we have basically step 1. So step 1 was that form that we said start, and you can define it in here. So I can change the name of it in the navigation side. I can apply an icon to it. But I simply just select which form I want to present to the user first, and then tell it what I'm passing forward. And I can also override the buttons on that form as well. So once I define this here, then what I can do is I can go to my tools section here and then drag another element right onto that and connect it to the previous element. So in this particular case, I brought up my profile information. So it's another form element. And now I'm displaying my form information or my profile information, sorry. That's asking me for my address, my phone number, any of those types of details. From there, I continued on and we asked for the owner applicant information. So is this permit for the address that I'm currently registered on for this, and if I'm the owner of that premises. So the cool thing here is this is where we have some branching technology. You see here I have a rule. So if I go back to my tools, I could drag one of these rules on here, and that's exactly what this node is. So if I click onto that, you can see, hey, you know what? So it's looking at the previous step. So it's looking at my step 2 here, and it's looking at this field here. Do you own the premises? So I can say, hey, you know what? So it shows all the fields. If I own it, does it equal yes or does it equal no? If it equals yes, then what I want to do is, let's just cancel this here. Then what I want to do is right here, you can see it says true. I want to execute this particular step. Now, if it's false, so if I don't own the premises, then I want to actually go into this step first, which is asking me for that owner information. So once I get through that owner information, that redirects me back to my terms and conditions page, and then I can continue on to my confirmation page, and then of course end up being redirected back to a page on my site. I think I have services selected there. So you can build out as many of these rules as you like. Some other cool tools that we have here is not just a rule, but if I wanted to, I could even let's go a little rogue here. Let's delete this one here. Okay, that's my termination page. But if I wanted to, I could even send out an email. So after they confirm, I can click on this here, and then I can select my email provider, and I can actually type out an email right here with, well, if I had the email address in a previous step, it would show it. And then, of course, I can build out that email and then click done. So what that would do is that when it goes through here, when they confirm and pay, it will send out an email to whoever you want to receive that email. So other tools that we have is the ability to run an on-demand workflow inside of your Dynamics. So if you have on-demand workflows, you can actually execute an on-demand workflow or a custom action inside your Dynamics as well, which could return data that you can use to populate other elements later on in the process. Okay, so with that, what I'll do is I'll turn it back over to Dan and Ryan. Thank you for your time. And if you want a more in-depth demo, then please reach out to us, and we can see what we can do about getting something scheduled. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Steve. That was a fantastic demo. And a big thank you again to everyone who attended today's session, and as well to DynamicsCon for facilitating this fantastic event. We've got our contact information up on the screen here, so should you wish to get in contact with any one of us, we'd be happy to have a conversation with you. Thanks again, and hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Pasowisty here, my colleague Ryan as well. As we mentioned, happy to answer any questions that you might have. Saw the one question come in from you, Nick, so glad that Steve was able to answer that one for you. But nonetheless, we do have our contact information available in the chat as well. So should you wish to reach out to us directly, feel free to do so. Happy to hang out here for a couple more minutes though, just to see if some other questions come through. All right. Well, as I mentioned, our contact information is available. We are about to run up here on time and don't want to get cut off. So feel free to reach out to us directly. Thanks again to DynamicsCon for hosting this wonderful event. And hopefully you found today's session helpful and interesting. Thanks so much and have a great day.